This is the final report on Reid's case number 642, a lower second molar with a fracture in it. These are his periapicals. There you can see the cone beam, kind of a suggestion of a mesial distal fracture. There was no apparent radiographic abnormalities. Everything is within normal limits, but it was exquisitely tender to biting. When he opened the pulp, it was hyperemic. And what he did is he used a standard needle irrigation in the mesial buccal with a Triton, and then a wave 1 primary for all canals. He did use some sonic activation in the other canals. This is how I got the tooth. Those are my radiographs. So let's take a look at the mesial root first. And when you look at the sagittal split, the mesiobuccal canal was very, very clean, but apically there was tissue, and the mesiolingual canal had quite a bit of tissue still present in it. So we're going to examine this fairly carefully and see what we can learn. The dried out specimen looks like that. So you can see the pulp in the mesiolingual is really dry. There was a lot of furcal pulp tissue still present as well, but the mesiobuccal canal with the standard needle irrigation looked very, very clean. This is how the sputtered case looked after it was dried and sputtered. So we're going to look at this under the SEM and see what we can see. And when you go into the MIE site and you go into the stitched images, it's worthwhile taking some time and going through this. Looking at the mesiobuccal canal, you can see, except apically, the canal was very, very clean. This is what we've come to know is from a Triton type of irrigant, very, very clean and free of debris. As we go up in power, we'll get a better sense of what the canal wall actually looked like. When you look apically, where there's more tissue, you see quite a bit of smear layer debris, as well as some remnants of pulpal tissue still present. And when you go a little more coronally, you can see these spindle-shaped cells that we've seen before with Triton, so we're going to spend some time and kind of discuss those. It doesn't look like a lot of demineralization has taken place. This is just an overall view of the mesial root. When you actually go into a higher power area that looks to be a little better cleaned, it's a very clean canal wall with, I would say, some predentin still present. The predentin hasn't been completely demineralized and removed, so it's worthwhile spending some time and go through these. When you go more coronally, you get a little bit different picture where the canal is much, much cleaner. And all the predentin is gone. And then you still get this appearance of these spindle-shaped cells, which previously we thought maybe were mesenchymal stem cells, right on top of the predentin layer. And then further down the canal, you can see there, in some areas, quite a bit of demineralization has actually taken place, and all of the predentin is gone. So there's a wide variation in the findings when you look at these teeth. Here's a higher mag view, and you can see open dentinal tubules and quite a bit of demineralization that's taken place. Although some peritubular dentin still seems intact. And when we look at the distal root, which had Q-mix used, as well as larger file sizes, he used Q-mix and the endoactivator in both the mesiolingual and distal canals. And then he dried the canals and sent it for extraction. And then when you look at the sagittal section, the coronal 2/3 of the root looks very, very clean. This is what it looked like, sputter-coated. And then apically, it looked like there was still some pulp left. Now we're going to look at the SEM and the distal root very, very carefully, because we have this finding of these spindle-shaped cells, which I'm assuming were mesenchymal stem cells, but it doesn't correlate really with our histological picture of the root. Here you can see there's still some smear layer present in some areas, but mostly the distal root has been demineralized. And then there we're going to look at the stitched area. There's some part of the mineralized front still present, but it's most of the predentin and the mineralization front has been removed. But now you see this layer of spindle-shaped cells almost in a layer. So it's very difficult to actually understand what those cells are and why Triton apparently has this effect on them. There you can see the mineralization front has not been completely demineralized. And then you look further down the root, and you can see it has been completely demineralized. And yet you see on top of that are these spindle-shaped cells. So I know I'm going through these very fast. You want to go into the MIE site and actually go into these stitched images and go through them slowly so you get a sense for the pattern recognition for these cells. And this looks quite a bit different from the mesiobuccal root, where no Q-mix was used. It's much more demineralized. And I believe EDTA was used here as well. And now you get a very good sense for what these cells look like sitting on top of the demineralized dentinal wall. So I'm at a loss really to correlate this with our standard understanding histologically of what's actually present. And when you go in and look at the intertubular dentin, which has been pretty much removed, but it hasn't been, you still don't see the collagen fibers in the tubule, so there hasn't been a tremendous amount of demineralization that's gone on. So the collagen is still mineralized in the dentinal tubule. There you can see how this is almost a layer of cells. Some of these you look at and you wonder, I wonder if these aren't even cells, if it's just part of the demineralization of the predentin that looks like mesenchymal stem cells. So when you look at this, you can see there's a syncytium of cells here. And you wonder if maybe this is an effect of the Triton on just how predentin is demineralized. So I really don't know. I'm assuming that these are cells, and that the only cells I can think of, they're not fibroblasts. They must be a mesenchymal stem cells. And here you can see how they're actually part and parcel of the demineralization, the mineralized front. They're impregnated into the mineralized area. So I have more questions than answers. Wish I could be more helpful. I think what we really need is a pulp histologist that actually knows what we're looking at.